Hey everyone, it's Raina. So I have been doing a series of loving the sun signs, and now I am doing Sagittarius. And Sagittarius happens to be my sun sign. So it's always fun to do your own sign. And I was just thinking about how I'm always mentioning how I'm a Sagittarius, and that is so typical of all of the fire signs. And Sagittarius is a fire sign, and so is Aries and Leo. And the fire signs are always about the ego. And I always talk about the ego, but we always have to kind of clarify that, because the ego doesn't have to be, I think I'm better than other people. The ego is just that sense of knowing yourself. And really, it's not just about honoring yourself, but about wanting to express yourself. And so the fire signs are associated with creativity. In the tarot, it's the wands. And so there's that correlation in the tarot with the idea of enterprise. So I did lay out a few cards, and initially I did this with the cards thing just to have an excuse to film it, because I'm just trying to get the audio to upload, and I wanted to have a focal point. So I picked the Temperance card from the Major Arcana on the left there, because that is a card that is associated with Sagittarius. I just did Virgo's analysis, and I always have felt that should be Virgo, the Temperance card, because Virgo is about purity, and there's always that sense of balance. I mean, you could even say Libra with Temperance, but I think of the Temperance Society, people that are non-drinkers of alcohol. So anyway, it is associated with Sagittarius, the Temperance card. And then you have the middle card. I picked the Joan of Arc card. I'm still kind of learning about these cards. Some of the characters in these cards I don't know much about. Now, of course, I've heard of Joan of Arc, but this is from the Keepers of the Light Oracle deck. And I picked it just because of what it says underneath, which is the voice of truth, because that definitely exemplifies the sign of Sagittarius. It's all about truth. And then on the right, I have the Wheel of Fortune, which is actually associated with Jupiter, and that's the ruler of Sagittarius. So any way you slice it, I think that all three of these cards could easily, you can make a case for them connecting to Sagittarius. Now, you see how the sun came in, how that changes? I realize now when I film how important light is, and natural light is the best, always will be, I think. So, because I have this room, it's unlit, but it's in the afternoon, and so it was kind of overcast, so that's pretty neat. But in any case, Sagittarius is the last fire sign. You have three of each element. You have a beginning, middle, and late period. And the late period of each element, so the last fire sign is Sag, the last earth sign is Capricorn, the last air sign is Aquarius, and the last water sign is Pisces. They're like, you could say, the old souls of the zodiac, because they contain the wisdom of their element to the nth degree. And of course, Sagittarius is sage, so it is somebody who's supposed to be kind of a teacher, but specifically a spiritual teacher of wisdom. And the symbol of Sagittarius is half man, half horse, right? Not half, yeah, it's a centaur. I can always say centaur. Centaur. And there is that, it's very interesting, Sagittarius, because there's this element of the animal within the man, the wildness I'm talking about, the rebellion. And so Sagittarius can be a sign of somebody who's very well read and very intelligent, but they give off this kind of, it's not even unpredictable vibe. It's a vibe of like can't be contained. And I think about, I took out an autobiography by Billy Idol, and he's a Sagittarius, and I was floored by how he writes. I mean, he is such an elegant writer. But Sagittarius is associated with writing, and the ninth house is associated with publishing specifically. And so the higher mind. But Billy Idol also gave this sense of danger, and so there's like that kind of duality there. The women who are Sagittarius, because it's a masculine sign, it's not uncommon for Sagittarius women to grow up as tomboys, to be very much one of the guys, and to prefer the company of guys. I know when I was young, that's exactly how I felt. I always kind of identified with guys more than girls. And I never rejected wearing dresses, though, and I started to get more girly girl when I was a teenager. But I definitely had a period where I was very much that sense of, just identifying with, what the boys were doing, or wanting to hang out with the guys. And that's how a lot of Sagittarius women are. So sometimes they have to learn how to appreciate their own gender. Sometimes I find that, I think because I have a lot of feminine energy, I'm different than that, but I know that some fire sign women, they almost, I think, see the feminine principle as being weak. And so they gravitate towards the other. And that is, to me, when you talk about temperance, for instance, you're talking about wanting that balance. But if you happen to love somebody who is a Sagittarius, let's say you're a guy and you have a Sagittarius woman, and she does tend to be more comfortable wearing jeans than dresses, and you try to change her, then that, to me, is not okay, because you're not accepting her. You're not loving her for who she is, and that's part of who she is the woman who likes to wear jeans. Sagittarius also loves animals, so if you're a parent of a Sagittarian child, realize that would be something that probably would make their lives so much better. Also, in terms of how to raise a Sagittarius child, just speaking for myself, I was pretty naughty. And that's because of the rebellious element. There is that sense of not wanting to follow the rules. And, I think one of the reasons why, it's not just a rebel without a cause. I think it's because Sagittarius questions, doing things for the sake of doing them. There has to be a higher reason. And so if you're a parent, you can't just tell a Sagittarius because I said so. But, there's no reason to. You can really go into an intelligent response. Well, why can't I go out after dark? Well, when it's dark, you can't see very well, and it's pretty dangerous, and you just say things that are the truth, and treat them like they have a brain in their heads, because Sagittarius is a very inquisitive sign. So, parents can get really irritated by them asking why. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? But instead of trying to get them to shut up, find ways for them to satisfy their curiosity. Maybe you can teach them how to look up the answers to those questions online, or how to, things like that, how to answer their own questions by research. And there's just there can be a precocious quality, I think, sometimes, because of that tendency to be an old soul and to be someone, be maybe very intelligent and inquisitive, that parents should never talk down to their Sagittarian children, because they will sense it and they will resent it. Instead of talking down to them, try to challenge them in that way. Try to kind of use words that they've never heard of before, so that they will stretch. Another thing that people have to understand about Sagittarius is that it's a sign of independence and freedom. And whether you are someone who is a relative of a Sagittarius person, or if it's a spouse or a partner, you have to realize that they always want to feel free. And anytime that somebody places emotional demands on them, they're probably 1 foot out the door. If you're the possessive type of person, that won't go over very well. That won't end well with Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is a sign that believes that, no one owns another person. Now, of course, if they have a prominent Scorpio, that may, get thrown out the window. I'm just talking about the pure traits, not when it's combined with other influences. But typically, Sagittarius in and of itself does not get jealous. And they don't get possessive. So do not make the mistake of thinking that you can claim ownership on someone because you're dating them or you're married to them. They're not going to stick around. Make sure that you are somebody who likes to communicate. Don't be the strong silent type, because that's not going to go over well too. Sagittarius loves to talk. My partner and I are both Sagittarians. The other night, he got home from work and we just started talking, and I had to get and go somewhere. And it had been I think it'd been 2 hours or 3 hours. And I was like, I got up from the couch and I was like, wow, we just talked for 3 straight hours. And we were just it was like nothing. That's how Sagittarians, they love to exchange ideas with people. And they love to talk about higher things, philosophy, spiritual things. Maybe things that you would study at the university, like higher order learning types of things. If you're somebody who wants someone, now this is where, if you're like an Aries type of person, you may be more inclined to do things physically. And Sagittarius likes the outdoors too. Sagittarius likes to hike. They would like to do some of the things that you like to do. But it's not always about being active with Sagittarius, even though they're fire signs. They do have that desire to do the physical activities, but they also like to read, and they also like to talk. And so understand that. And if you're not that person, let them know. Don't try to be something that you're not and hide the true self, because I think the best relationships are when you have a meeting of the minds. Everything else, I think, you can work around, but if you don't have that kind of compatibility on a mental level and in terms of interest, I think that the relationship will probably have a pretty short shelf life. And of course, if you've married somebody who you don't feel compatible with on that level, you still, I'm saying if you've had children with them, that can distract you for a little while. But eventually the relationship may not last, because there's not that sense of stimulation. That's what it is too. It's a sense of intellectual stimulation. So be philosophical, be positive. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Try to see the good in other people, but you don't have to be saintly. Sagittarians can be snarky. we can be irreverent, politically incorrect sometimes, because we like to push the envelope. You know, we like controversy. And so, yeah, I thought I was going to talk about Sagittarius for like a half hour. I'm pretty surprised that I'm wrapping this up. So I hope you enjoyed this, and take care of yourselves. Bye.